up, everybody? Welcome back to Neon Trash. I'm your host, Tommy the Hammer. Tonight, I have got a huge group of people. It's Dale, it's BC, it's Rocket, and it's the dreaded Dean. And it is his pick tonight. Deanie boy, what you got in store for us tonight, man?
Well, Neon Trashers, I got some Dracula Dead and Loving It with Leslie Nielsen.
Huzzah.
And I absolutely adore this movie. Like, I mean, how can you not like Mel Brooks anyway?
I love this movie, and I've been excited for weeks now, ever since you told me. You saw this, like at the beginning, I was like, I'm gonna pick Dracula Dead and Loving It. I'm like, yes! And then I'm like, been waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally, it's Dean's turn, and here we are.
Oh, man.
So excited.
Yeah.
I love this movie. The first time I ever saw it, it was just like, it stuck with me. Like, I have so much nostalgia for it.
I agree. I love Mel Brooks. I love Leslie Nielsen. I love Dracula. I love Bram Stoker. You know, I'm big on Halloween. I think this movie's funny as fuck. It's been a while since I've seen it. I know Rocket can't wait to watch this.
Can't wait.
It's been a long time since I've seen this. I remember when it first came out, I watched it, but yeah, it's been since then, so this is going to be a fun one.
Every once in a while, you gotta put some Leslie Nielsen in between
cheeks.
Dale's weird horror porn things.
Guys, you know this part of the review. Check out the trailer.
Dig up the trailer.
Peep that shit. I'll be right back, motherfuckers.
Am Count
He's never been this dashing,
Dracula.
this dangerous, this dead.
It's good to be dead.
From director Mel Brooks,
You're eating insects right from the ground.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Leslie Nielsen,
I'll come down and help.
Dracula, dead and loving it.
I fly.
You don't. Rated PG-13.
At theaters December 22nd.
Hello there, internets. We just got done watching Dracula Dead and Loving It, and I thought it was a fantastic flick, even after all these years. It's apparently Mel Brooks' last movie that he did. Is that what you guys looked up?
The last one he directed.
Oh,
Yes.
directed. Ah, okay.
Yes.
So I think it's a good hurrah to go out on. Like even though like maybe this movie doesn't portray as much of Mel Brooks as it should. I mean, it's great. I love it, but it's more of a Leslie Nielsen flick in my opinion. It is kind of weird to me that it's Mel Brooks' last flick. That being said, I think it stands alone as a great horror flick, and then of course it's the parody. I feel like a really good comedy movie has to be its own movie before it's comedy, and I think I probably said that at the beginning, but that being said, I think it's very important, and it's great, and I love it, and somebody take this away from me.
Dale!
Well said, well said.
Revisiting it, how do you feel, brother?
Okay. This movie does amazingly well with set design, costume design, the soundtrack's spot on. It's a very nice throwback or homage, you'd say, to the Hammer films. Especially when it comes to the beautiful women in this movie. They definitely get a thumbs up.
Very nice.
With that being said, like I waited to say it on the second half of the review because I didn't want to mention it in the first half, but I really wasn't jazzed when I watched this the first time. But I wanted to count it up to me being younger when I first came out and not getting some of the jokes as with some stuff.
Yeah, right.
And now that I'm much older and I've rewatched this,
You're not that jazzed.
It's like not that much more to get, I guess.
we referenced it during the film. Like somebody blurted out, "How's the stand-up to Young Frankenstein?" I bet it was you, Tom.
That was me.
Not at all.
Thank you.
This isn't a bad film, and I'm not going to dump on it in any
No.
way, shape, or form. It's an extremely well-done film
Sure.
with some really heavy hitters in the comedy scene. It just falls kind of mute with me. I don't know why. I should like this film way more than I actually do, but I just don't. I love a lot of things about it. It's a very well-done film.
I kind of understand where you're coming from.
It doesn't strike my nuts, and it didn't the first time I watched it. Now, there's good stuff in the film. I laughed, of course, and I thought some shit was hilarious, but just overall, the entire film, I feel like it's not. I mean, I know they're all starting to get older at this point, but like Leslie Nielsen, I didn't feel hit it as hard, but you can't say his Naked Gun because that's lightning in a bottle.
Right.
But it just seems like everything the comedy was a little more subdued to continue with the seriousness of the parody, which I respect, and it wasn't bad. That's why I feel strange, because I don't want to dump on it at all. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
It just didn't really spice my knickers.
Dude, that's super fair.
No, it is. It is.
BC, the middle ground, the young end of the group, the guy that did not grow up watching Leslie Nielsen, where you be, McGee?
I'm with Dale. I wasn't super jazzed.
Ooh.
I think, like, first of all, for me, this was an hour and a half, and it felt longer than that.
I'll agree
Like,
with that.
I was like, when is this gonna end?
Oh my God!
Another
Harsh.
thing is, like, if we're gonna talk about vampires and like parodying, like What We Do in the Shadows is a lot better than this by far.
Yeah.
And
But I'm thinking about the time period, though.
I let him speak.
this is
for
supposed
fuck's
to take
sake.
long
There you go.
enough for anyone to do any type of parody of it. And this one, I feel like, is better than the other. But the other thing is, like, because it's trying to take its subject matter somewhat seriously, which you touched on, and like I appreciate that. That does actually detract from the enjoyment level of the film. Like, if you're gonna have comedy that's so dumb that it's funny, you gotta go, like, in my opinion, full Kung Pao Enter the Fist, where the whole entire movie is stupid. Because then,
That's a good point.
like, any part that was even semi-serious in this, I was like, those weren't good enough for me to enjoy it, and then it took away from the dumb comedy, which is what you watch this for. So, yeah, for me, I just wasn't all that jazzed. I thought there were scenes like where I couldn't help but laugh, for sure. There are a couple good jokes, but overall, I mean, it wasn't my favorite, but that's just where I'm at.
Rocket, you've been waiting for this all week, all month, all October. Lay it on us. How do you feel tonight after all the anticipation?
There's just enough to. I still like this movie. It still is a great movie. It's still a Mel Brooks film to me. You know, it's taking itself seriously enough to land a lot of the jokes. But then again, I find myself like wading through a few parts to get to the next joke. Like, this movie really is all about those jokes, you know, and it's just using this genre to deliver these jokes, you know, and for me, that's great. Like, I love these jokes. Like, there's, I mean, from the slapstick here and there to the sly one-liners to, you know, those really rapid fire, like, if you're not paying attention, you just missed it jokes, you know, and those are some of the funniest to me, honestly. So that honestly gives this movie some rewatchability, because, you know, there's so many things that, I mean, it's so slow in some parts, like, God, but then they really fly, the jokes fly so fast in other parts, you really almost want to rewatch it again, because you're going to miss a few things, because they don't, I don't know, the spacing of those jokes is really kind of haphazard, honestly. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, it's still one of my, you know, favorite comedy directors. It's still one of my favorite comedy actors, Leslie Nielsen. Loved Airplane, loved Naked Gun. I loved all the Naked Gun movies. Like, you know, it's just, he's that funny. These guys are just that funny. I mean, Tom, you're with me, right? This was okay.
Okay,
It's
so
still funny, right?
No, okay. So during the movie, I had an opinione. I was shouting things. I was blurting things out. I have a certain perspective about this movie overall, and I think it's unfair to be like, oh, this is a piece of shit.
Right.
I really do. I think that's unfair,
right,
because there's a lot of things that you have to consider about this movie. Mel Brooks, prolific comedy director. Leslie Nielsen, prolific comedy actor. The source material, prolific horror novel. And at the time, in the 90s, you had Francis Ford Coppola doing Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, Keanu Reeves, terrible movie. I like that movie, you fucking pricks.
A lot of people do hate that movie. You know,
They don't like him.
well,
They don't
I
like
guess.
it. Look, I understand.
But yeah, right.
This has nothing to do with the movie at hand. There's a lot of things from the 90s that we try to forget. And I don't think this is necessarily one of them. When we were talking about the movie as we were watching it, my thing was Mel Brooks is one of my favorite directors. My dad raised me on his movies, and his film, High Anxiety, was my dad's favorite movie ever. It's a parody of Alfred Hitchcock's films. By the 90s, when this came out, me and my family sat down and watched it, and we were like, something is fucking missing. I don't know what it was, and today I think I finally touched on it, finally understood what it was. You've got two different things going on here. You've got Leslie Nielsen's Naked Gun humor. You've got Mel Brooks, which is kind of the written humor. You know what I'm saying? Like, he writes out these jokes. He writes out these scenes. You've got these two different comedic styles that are kind of similar. On paper, people would be like, Leslie Nielsen and Mel Brooks, and they're like, sold! You know what I'm saying? And I feel like at the time it was like, sold!
It was an instant winner, right? I mean, how could you go wrong with that kind
Well, as we see it today in 2020,
of was for me?
I like the Leslie Nielsen, I like the Mel Brooks, but together, I don't know. There's like, it's clashing. There's a clashing for me. And I can't help but compare it to Young Frankenstein. The ultimate horror comedy parody. Black and white. Pitch perfect. Young Frankenstein. And even back in the day, growing up, I thought Young Frankenstein ran a little too long. I remember there's a point where like Frankenstein's creation is like doing vaudeville. And I'm like, I'm done.
I mean, when they get to that point on the red scene, like, I hear you.
Yeah, and here's the thing about that. I haven't just felt that about Young Frankenstein, I felt that way about Blazing Saddles. By the time in Blazing Saddles comes along where everyone's doing the fucking song and dance number, I'm like, I'm done! So I think the problem here is I like Mel Brooks, I like Leslie Nielsen, I like comedy, I like horror, I like the concept of a parody, but even my own interest in these things reaches a ceiling. So with all that being said, we're going to do star count real quick.
Star count.
Starting with Tommy the Hammer here. Dracula, dead loving it. I do think this is the perfect comedy pick by Dean for the month of October 2020. I'm glad you picked this. We've touched on a number of different elements for this month. We've had foreign films, we've had conventional Americana, classico horror, and now we've got the comedy parody horror. 6.5 out of 10. Rocket, doer.
Dang, I feel like this is one of those movies where I could expound for another 10 minutes and give it like 6 different star counts.
Don't.
But I'm not gonna, if I may finish.
Oh god, so bad.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Whoa.
Jesus Christ.
Don't do it.
So okay, I won't. I'll wrap it up. It's got its faults, it's got its strengths, it's got actors, directors I like, yada yada yada. Thinking of 7 out of 10 PC.
7?
7! Yes, it was alright!
DC.
So
You got some insane shoes to fill.
Wrap it up, I gotta piss!
Wrap it up.
So-
You gotta pee.
This review's better than the movie.
I've seen Blazing Saddles, and I've seen the Naked Gun movies, and I've seen Spaceballs, and so like I can see the appeal to these people, you know, in the world of cinema. But as someone that doesn't have an attachment to them, I feel like whatever strengths are seen in this film are because of the appeal of the people in it, and not exactly what's presented. Like if you like Leslie Nielsen, you like Mel Brooks, and you have an attachment to them, you're gonna dig this. But anyone I feel outside of that is gonna be like,
Right, what the hell is this really?
and like I said, I like movies that are like so dumb that they're funny.
I mean, you
But-
like Kung Pao, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, but like that just commits to 100% of the runtime being stupid.
Yeah, I get your point.
And so, with something like Dracula, where you have to expand a little bit because there is something there, it's like, do I want to see the parody expansion of this plotline? No, there's plenty of other Dracula movies where I can see that. I mean, for me, I'm gonna be the low baller here. I'm going 3 out of 10.
Oh my fucking god!
Well, somebody's getting their ass kicked into this video.
I rate it 4 too many people just standing there staring off camera out of 10.
I absolutely love this flick. If you were brought up watching Three Stooges, if as a teenager you watched Ace Ventura, like, and anything with like that physical comedy, like if you enjoy physical comedy and you like the idea of Dracula, I think they combine very well, and I think these are some crazy people over here. I thought it went 50-50 down the line, where it was like, it was a good amount of stupid and a good amount of serious. And I thought they combined very well. Apparently I'm the only, well, even John was iffy about it. But like, I think it is a fantastic movie, and if you like comedy, give it a 9.
What?
What? 9?
Fuck all y'all.
Oh, I think that's awesome. That's awesome.
9.
That's awesome
Yeah,
because
so
apparently-
if you're a real
apparently-
comedy fan,
This movie is in Dean's wheelhouse.
yeah, and that wheelhouse.
Ducky the wheelhouse.
I grew up watching the Three Stooges with my dad, so this was kind of similar, but I would give it like a 5 or a 6. It wasn't like, I absolutely hate this, but I feel like you could watch it one time and not have to revisit it type of thing.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Amber, can you give your point of view now after Olivia, please?
You can't close to the thing.
Everyone, shut the fuck up. I want to get the ladies' point of view. Amber, go ahead.
I like it.
Okay.
I didn't hate it, but yeah, I wouldn't like actively be like, yeah, let me totally watch this. I want to sit down and watch this. I watched it so that I could sit down here with you guys, not because I wanted to watch it, but there were some funny parts. I giggled sometimes. There were some slapstick horrors in there.
So I feel like, and like, I'm glad I asked you guys that, and the final takeaway from this movie is, in my opinion, that, you know, like horror, like any other genre, it's all subjective. Comedy is subjective. What tickles your fancy might not tickle another person's fancy. You know what I'm saying? So,
True.
at the end of the day, you might come into this movie and be like, what an atrocity. But some of you might come into this movie and be like, oh, what a comedic goldmine. Who the fuck knows? Bottom line is, I hope we've been informative to you, motherfuckers.
Watch
Until the next
yourself.
time. God damn it, John.
Keep that shit.
Alright, fine. You want to fucking roll like that?
Should we do it?
Fuck it, we're doing it
I
live!
hope you've been informative to you motherfuckers.
Until the next time,
tune in.
I hate you.
I gotta pee so bad, you assholes.